Welcome to the Blue Monday podcast covering all things Ipswich since 2015. This is a live Q&A show. My name is Mikey Smith, and I'm joined by two men who aren't cashing in just yet on their retro shirts. It's David Diamond and Joe Fair. How are you both? Dave, how long before we see that Maradona shirt hanging up in the background?
Oh, look at that beauty.
Well, they said 4 million they're saying for that, are they?
In reserve, I think.
And does Hodge still own that?
Yeah, Hodge still owns it. Yeah.
That's decent. 4 million, unbelievable stuff. That's almost as much as Joe's collection.
I have got a match-worn Chef Kikuchi shirt up behind me at the back there.
Ah, yeah, we know that. Yeah, brilliant.
The flying fin.
The flying fin, literally.
Lovely stuff. So yeah, this is a Q&A show, so please do get your questions in on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And if you are watching now live on YouTube or if you're watching retrospectively, please drop us a like, because it helps us go viral, doesn't it, Dave?
Does, mate. Certainly does. Like a bit of viral.
Yeah, and you can also join us. I'll just give this a quick plug again on our Telegram chats, which are still, despite the a lot of 2-week trials ending, still going really strong, aren't they, Joe?
Yes, still a lot on there. I think the biggest barrier to it so far has been our capitulation against Cambridge on Saturday, that it seems to have sort of sucked the life out of Ipswich fans, hasn't it, for this season?
Yeah, that was that result was put in perspective well and truly last night, wasn't it, really?
Well, it was a cup final, wasn't it? It's hard to go after the Lord Mayor's show.
Yeah, crikey. Yeah, no. Abject disappointment. But hey, the golf has started.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about the golf later on, Dave. Just on the Telegram, we are doing a player of the season poll at the moment, and I won't give away who's winning it or who's probably going to win it, but I will ask you both. It was an anonymous poll, but I'm sure you're happy to share who you voted for and why.
I've seen the reason. Someone posted the reason earlier. My vote would go to Danasian. I think he's just been absolutely outstanding and an absolute revelation, hasn't he? Really, I think 4 players. I mean, I know we had a much larger shortlist than that, but to my mind, there are 4 players: Walton, Morsey, Burns, and Danasian. I think just for the Lazarus-like comeback and his just sheer consistency of performance, I'd go with Danasian.
Wes Burns for me. I just think that it's a sort of season for the ages, really, from right wing back, isn't it? Where he's played the majority of his football. 11 goals, 7 assists, and whilst a lot of that has been due to what Danasian's given him, like I said, we're a side that hasn't scored a huge amount of goals, especially recently. And whilst the defence is keeping clean sheets, he is the match winner up front for me, and he's just been a brilliant attacking player this season, and he's also put in a good shift defensively. They've got a great partnership, and I just think, I don't know, I wonder if without Danasian's backstory, whether it would be as close to a 2-horse race as I think it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the managers, it's not, the managers award isn't a manager's player of the year, is it, Joe? It's sort of like a commitment award, isn't it? So could that potentially be like an all? I mean, I don't want to say club man of the year, but if there was something like that, maybe that is what Danasian would be getting, because he's played out of his skin, hasn't he? And if we're talking about maybe the player that's done the best with what they have this season, I mean Burns, you'd have to say would be up there as well, but he's had a fantastic season. Danasian.
No one wanted to win the Club Man of the Year award, was it? No one wanted to ever win that award. But yeah, it's that would be a good trade-off. You're right, actually, Mikey. That would be a really good compromise, because there's probably not a lot to choose between them. But I mean, Danasian is just phenomenal, really. Where Burns has been good right from the bat, off the bat, hasn't he? Look at the stats without him in the team, for goodness sake. But Danassian has just come from nowhere, hasn't he? I mean, he was gone, out on loan twice in the last couple of seasons, totally discarded, just about survived.
Well, we were trying to cancel the deal before he even signed, weren't we? Because he had that initial loan spell, and Lambert was trying to get the deal cancelled before it even went permanent. But we couldn't get out of it.
Just incredible. But
No, he's definitely found a really, even under Cook before McKenna came in, I think he was playing well and probably one of our better players then. But since McKenna's come in, he's really that sort of hybrid right back, right centre back role. He's really grown into it, and it's really suits his skill set.
I mean, ironically, his performance against Charlton at left back was probably one of the worst performances I've seen in a Town shirt this season. Actually,
yeah, it was bad, wasn't it?
But yeah, he's just been absolutely brilliant, and just a good level every single game. He's been at a really, really decent level, and again, just harping back to Saturday's game, he was another one that was for once was slightly below his high standards.
Yeah, let's acknowledge some of our viewers. Charlie D, he's always here, isn't he? Great stuff. Good having you along again. Evening, everyone. Good evening, Howard DK. Skip intro. He's pretty prolific on the old Telegram, isn't he?
Isn't he?
Evening, BM crew from Talking Town from Coxey's comments. Nice to see you. Liam Whiting, did no get an agenda. Does feel like we've hit the wall, but onwards and upwards next season. Yeah, you're quite right. We've got Mark Cosgrave watching in Dublin.
Hey,
Charlie D, shout for Danassian.
He knows the score.
The first question of the night coming in from our viewers is this one. Intrigued by the Manchester United youngsters coming to us for what sounds like work experience.
I saw that.
So that's Charlie Savage, the son of Robbie Savage, and Will Fish.
Please tell me.
No relation of Mark Fish as far as I'm aware. But yeah, it says a lot about how well respected our coaching staff is by Manchester United, if nothing else, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is something that has happened at other clubs, though, hasn't it? I think it was noted on the story that a couple of players have gone to AFC Wimbledon, and I'll just pull it up here. But it's a scheme that they've got, and they've sent some players to Sheffield Wednesday, some players to AFC Wimbledon, and some players to Forest Green Rovers. But basically, what they do is they send them away for a couple of weeks to train with the first team, live in that environment, and then come back. And once they're back, they have to sort of present back to the coaches what the experience was like. It gives them a thing there. So, I obviously, anything that helps build relationships with big clubs, which I'm sure Man United is going to be one that we do, is no bad thing. You can't hurt having good relationships with other clubs. But it's I don't think there's a huge amount to read into it personally.
It's an interesting one from Man U. That's quite an interesting one. No, it's exactly what I was going to... He took the words right out of my mouth there.
Skip intro said, for anyone listening on the audio feed, if you don't work hard, you'll end up at a dump like this. You don't mean that.
But to be fair, Man United, everything is down from there. Let's face it, pretty much. He took the words right out of my mouth there, Skip. But yeah, Joe's right. It is an interesting one. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I saw Charlie Savage's picture today. The apple hasn't fallen far off the tree there, has it?
No, he definitely looks like him, doesn't he? Old Robbie.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a nicer lad, though. He actually came on in the Europa League earlier this season, I think.
Oh, he did.
So
yeah, because I
made
love or hate Robbie Savage. There was sort of the commentary, because he was commentating on the game and his son came on, and it was really good.
Quite moving, wasn't it?
Sort of a really proud father.
Unique position to be in, isn't it, as a co-commentator? It's just son coming on for his debut. So we saw Paolo Maldini's son playing in the Champions League, didn't we, earlier this season, with his dad watching on. That's 3 generations. Maybe a better sporting family than the Diamonds, Dave.
Well, I think probably just about edges it. Cesare Paolo and the grandson. Yeah, just about.
I think Paolo was an unbelievable tennis player as well.
Oh, he's ridiculous at pretty much everything. When he's madness. Yeah,
and ridiculously good looking too.
Yeah, he had a bit going for him, didn't he, the boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's gone way over my head. This isn't a dangerous one, is it, Dave? One day they'll be singing "Have Rod, Will Fish" at the Stretford end.
Hang on, this sounds like it's Joe's story in the green room prior to starting up. We won't
Yeah, go on,
there.
Joe. It's Masters Week. I'm sure Ben
Go on,
won't mind
Joe.
you indulging our
Go
audience
on.
for this
Go
little anecdote.
Oh,
It's a beauty.
when I must have been about 15 or 16, but one of my friends, his dad was a member at the K Club in Ireland. So we went over there for the European Open, and we had a really good room there. Me and my friend just racked up a massive room service bill while mostly playing Football Manager in the room rather than going out and watching the golf for a large part of it. But on the morning after the tournament, sort of a helicopter lands sort of outside our room. We had a sort of balcony looking over everything, and it was Tiger Woods and Mark O'Meara. So we go down to breakfast, and they're sort of on the next table to us, and there's a little bit of chat back and forth. Not a huge amount, I will have to admit on that. So we went there and did that, and my friend's dad was friends with a fisherman at the club, the Gilly as they called them over in Ireland, and we were due to go fishing. It would have been sort of us three, me, my friend, and his dad, the fisherman, Tiger Woods, and Mark O'Meara. But his dad had to get back for work the next day. So rather than spend the day fishing with Tiger Woods, we were just cruising along from Holyhead after the ferry at about 120 miles an hour as his dad ragged it back with no thoughts for our physical or mental welfare driving through the country.
That is a good story. That
These things
almost as good as my best golfing story, which I can say quickly. No questions at the moment. When I know I've told you, Mikey, that I played golf at Woodbridge, your domain golf club, or father's golf club, with Hatchet Harry from Lockstock, which was that's another story. JP Moriarty.
Brilliant, yeah. And can I just say, it isn't my dad's golf club. He's a member at the golf club.
You know what I was getting at there, yeah.
Just in
I
case
hope they
the audience
enjoyed
didn't. And your anecdote was so good, Joe, that David Bergin has put in €20. Don't know why I can't share that.
Euros, maybe because he's an Irish listener, would as a guest potentially, and it was over at the K Club.
Yeah,
there it is.
Lovely.
Thanks.
Stuff.
Sorry, did I say
much.
actually when I played golf with Hatchet Harry, it wasn't at Woodbridge. It was actually over in Ireland, to be fair.
Killarney.
Waterville, I think it was.
Brilliant. I saw a good question. I don't want to whiz past it. We've spoken a little bit about Kyle Edwards because we haven't seen him yet under McKenna, have we? Do you think that with the potential of us moving to a different formation next season, do you think that will benefit Kyle Edwards, or could you potentially see him breaking into the team this year as a wing back?
Well, there was talk from McKenna that before he got injured that he was effectively backing up Wes Burns in training, so he was playing as that right wing back, which is interesting that Kane Vincent-Young wasn't seen as that player. But I guess if we're playing this hybrid 4-5 at the back, 4.5 at the back, that you can't have a Vincent-Young there. You need an attacker in that position. So yeah, it's a position that Kyle Edwards could fill. I think he's going to be going some to get Wes Burns out of the team, but he's definitely got the talent, hasn't he? I know. Difficult. He's 24 now. So he's recently turned 24, and he does need to make an impact next year. Otherwise, his career is sort of dwindling away. Really, isn't he? He's going to be 24, very little senior football, but so much talent, isn't there? The way he can beat a player both ways. I think he was a bit unlucky that his numbers weren't quite maybe what he deserved there, because he put some decent balls in. He beats his man. He had some good shots saved by the keeper, and then all of a sudden it's 10 games, he hasn't got an assist, and all of a sudden a goal or an assist, it looks, he's got no final ball, no end product. Well, I don't think that's really the case for me. From what I could see on the eye test, as opposed to the stats there, I thought he actually did have an end product, but just got a bit unlucky. And then as a team just sort of went further and further back under Cook, he just sort of missed out.
Yeah, you're right. He's got so much raw talent, that lad. Flipping it, pace, can sort of, drop his shoulder, go both ways. Yeah. I mean, he's one that I like. Hopefully, if he thrives, what a player he'll be for us. Because, extremely talented.
Another extremely talented young player is Armando Dobra. Obviously, he's had a bit of a waste of a season, hasn't he, on loan at Colchester? But he appeared for the under-23s, which took a lot of people by surprise. It was on Monday, wasn't it, when he played, or was it yesterday? Doesn't matter. It was in a 1-0 defeat against Hull.
Came on a sub, he came on a sub, I think.
Yeah. So that'll lead into this question from HCH. How many contracted fringe players will leave this summer? And he's name-checked a few of them there. Can you put a number on it, Dave?
You think a cut?
I think Dobra will. I
think
don't
a
really see
couple.
that he's got much future here.
Yeah.
I think
Harper.
Piggott, if we
Go on,
can
go on,
get rid
Joe.
of him, I think he will. I think if we can get rid of him, I don't see any need for him to stay. Kane Vincent-Young, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes as well. I don't think El Mazzuni will go. He's got another 2 years left on his deal. He is still part of the first team squad at the moment.
And again, we haven't. I think we've spoken about this on the pod before. I'd like to see Harper with a full pre-season under the sort of new regime as such.
Yeah,
and
how
again,
coachable
we've never seen him alongside Morsey, have we?
No, how coachable is he? Because there didn't seem to be a huge amount of coaching going on at the start of the season, did there? There wasn't players getting better each week. Players were going back. When now you see,
it just seemed with
someone
him, Joe.
Wolfenden,
just seemed with him, it was a fitness thing with him. And reading between the lines, I've sort of tried to follow him, little by little at Crewe as well. And that's the sort of, you do a little feedback from that, and it's the same thing. It just seems his general fitness isn't perhaps what it should be. And he certainly hasn't, just recently, hasn't been starting. I try and keep tabs on. I think he's been on the bench for Crewe and getting half an hour, 20 minutes here and there. It just
came on at half time at the weekend. Yeah,
half time, did he? Yeah, it's just not happening. And we all know Craig made that bold statement. We just spoke about Player of the Year. I think he saw him in the friendly at, was it Dartford early on? He said, "I've seen my Player of the Year already, Raheem Harper. He's just a different level to everything else." And
I've never seen a central midfielder of that size and presence and ability just drift out of games so much.
And knocked off the ball. It's an odd one. It's a real odd one. But again, a bit like Ed. Well, perhaps he's perhaps even further down the pecking order than Edwards would be. But still young enough to come in, have a good pre-season, and you'd hope make an impact. Because again, like Edwards, you could see there's a lot of talent there. He's an elegant footballer, isn't he? He reminded me a lot of Vieira. These just his build, his physique, and how he
gobbles
sort of
up
runs
the ground, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Good grief, he should be bloody hell outstanding at this level, but just hasn't happened. And I honestly thought it seemed to me an issue with his fitness, as let's face it, at the start of the season it was with we said 7-8 games in, a lot of the squad was like that, but he probably more than anyone else.
He was one of the earliest there in pre-season, wasn't he? It wasn't like he was a late signing. He was there for that skip interest that first game at Dartford. He was there, wasn't he? He wasn't coming in late.
He played in the Premier League.
I know.
I mean, albeit never 90 minutes, but he had made appearances.
I think
baffling.
I don't have any
odd one
fear this year that we're going to have a good pre-season, a good organised pre-season. We've got the spine of the team there, and I'm not saying we're going to fly into the first game of the season and go on a 46-game unbeaten run, but I don't expect us to start the season slowly, and I don't expect it to be signings coming in all through August through the spine of the side, because we've got the spine of the team now, which is something we just didn't have last year.
That was a disruption, and everyone knew he was trying to get more. It was fairly well publicised that he was trying to get Morsey in, wasn't he? That was, I guess, slightly disruptive as well. And then when you finally sign Morsey and he can't play for 3 games, and Cook was banging on about, well, this result wouldn't happen under Morsey. Well, yeah, we all know what happened after that. But yeah, hopefully a much more settled and a much more, I say organised, but much more settled and professional pre-season, and hit the ground running, as Joe said.
He just barely played though, did he? I think the Wickham game, I think he came on a sub away at Wickham when we won 4-1.
Yeah,
he didn't play a league game after that. He came on a sub at Plymouth, came on a sub there. It's funny, the games he played, it was Portsmouth away, which we won 4-0. I think he was a sub there. Plymouth away, where we lost 2-1 but put in a decent performance, and then Wickham where we won 4-1. And then we just didn't see him again in the league after that from November. We just didn't see him at all.
Wasn't he one that had I missed that game. Wasn't he one of the, a bit like KVY? I'm not quite. He had a shocker against Bolton.
Yeah, I don't think he played well in any of the cup games either. But that was all down that side, wasn't that right hand side between KVY and Harper, where we just got destroyed.
I mean, KVY, that's another question, isn't it? Goodness me, who would have thought it? Those a couple of bad injuries, I suppose. He's never quite been the same player, has he?
No. It's a big shame. David Bergin obviously likes your name drop, Dave, but not as much as he liked Joe's. I'm thinking at this stage, if he's chucked in another €5, maybe I'll have to tell the story of the time I bumped into Ronaldo and Mick Jagger when I was helping interview Kaka?
See, look, honestly, what can you do, Joe? What can you do?
How many times has Mikey sent that photo of him and Ronaldo around the group?
Yeah, we've seen it a few times, to be fair.
Have I put it on the Telegram yet? I might
To be
have to.
honest, I've seen that photograph more than photographs of my granddaughter.
Rich says Burnley 1, Everton 2.
Ooh.
Villarreal
Burnley
beats
says-
in Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are beating Chelsea as well.
There we are. Updates as we get them.
Saturday.
Charlie agrees with
They
you,
love
Joe,
that.
that we'll get our business done very early. That's the hope, isn't it? But I think we
just
were
don't think we
saying
have
that a
that
year
much
ago.
to do we? Whilst I think that we will end up being 7 players in, 7 players out, something like that. We don't need to sign a keeper. Our centre halves is pretty set as a situation. We've got Morsey, who is going to be one of our midfielders. Evans is good enough next to him. You might be looking to improve that a little bit. Burns is going to be in the team. Obviously, there's going to be a left back, and then maybe Selena trying to work around him and strikers. But the spine of the team is there, so you are going to be building on what you have as opposed to starting again.
Oh, what do you think? What sort of fee would Selena? What's Selena's contract situation at?
He's still got another 2 years left, but they're not anywhere close to getting out of the
second division.
They're not. Yeah, they're basically just marooned in mid-table in the second division. So that is that they won't want him next year, as though they didn't want him this year. So
wonder what sort of fee he would command. What do you reckon?
I don't know, really.
Isn't it?
I'd imagine it wouldn't even if it's just a nominal fee just to get his wages off their books.
Yeah,
but
maybe right. Yeah,
just
don't
depends.
know.
And
If
he's
somebody
certainly
else
making
comes in.
He's certainly making the right noises as well, isn't he? Which is good.
Yeah, it's easy to say that though, isn't it? But
of
I
course,
guess when it comes down to it,
yeah.
Right, Dave. Tomorrow, 7th of April. Without using the words first day of the Masters, what does 7th of April mean to Ipswich Town?
What does the 7th? Oh no! Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Was this something that happened about 12 months ago?
It was, yeah.
Hey,
so 12 months ago, to the day tomorrow or Thursday, since the beginning of the game changer era, the takeover happened. I've got a question here from Howard DK early on. How would you rate the recruitment so far under Game Changer? For me, only 7 of the 19 signed in the summer have been a real success, so I'd give a 5. I think that's harsh because some of them have been such successes. But yeah, there's been a few misses, but I mean, we're typical football fans, aren't we? We'll say that the ones that didn't work out were Cook signings.
I do think there's an element though where we were always going to have a good summer signing wise because we just simply had a lot of money to spend. Sort of what I think when people say, "Oh, well, Cook was able to attract these players," I think, well, yeah, he was, and there's some good signings there, no doubt. But whichever manager we had was going to be able to attract good players because we're paying championship wages in League One in a depressed market. So, but like the teams at the bottom end of the championship could not compete with us in summer. Like players like Wes Burns, I think it was on one of the podcasts with the Kings of Anglia or Phil Hammond said it, but basically Wes Burns had agreed a contract with Coventry. Fleetwood decided to take the option up on his contract, even though they couldn't afford to pay his wages this year, which meant that they could get a 150 grand fee. Coventry couldn't afford the 150 grand fee. Maybe they had an embargo or something, which meant that we could sign him and he wasn't able to go to Coventry. So there was a lot that Hull couldn't sign players, and we were in for a lot of the same sort of players as those guys. And we were always going to sign good players this summer because we spent a lot of money. And I think some of those were really good signings. I think some have been disappointments. I think it was a little bit, I've obviously mentioned on here, and I'm sure people are bored of it, but I don't think we needed to get rid of as many players as we did last year and bring in as many as we did. I think if we wanted to get promoted this season, I think a more sensible approach needed to be taken, and a slower build, like what we'll do between this year and next year, needed to happen. But I say we've got a quality squad now, and it's difficult to really judge everything. But ultimately, this season has been, as much as there's been some good moments, it has been a huge disappointment. We're 9th. We're not going to make the playoffs. It's our 3rd year in this league. We've spent an absolute fortune in the summer, and we're 3-4 points better off at this stage than we were last season.
There we are. Rich asks, tomorrow's the 1-year anniversary. scores out of 10 for progress on and off the field. I'll go to you first, Dave. Progress on.
Yeah, I mean, someone said, yeah, probably I mean, the product is much better, isn't it? Goodness me, probably a 7, I'd say. Perhaps that's a little bit generous, given what Joe's last comments. We are only 4 points better off than we were last season, and marooned in 9th place. But yeah, 6.5 then. I mean, off the field, yeah. I mean, it's the whole product's better. You can just tell of the good feeling around the ground and everything else, and the development of the ongoing development of the ground and everything surrounding that. So yeah, probably a little bit more for that. Probably an 8 for that, I guess.
Nice. Okay, so that's what 15 out of 20.
Yeah, I'd say I'd end up probably about 5.5 on the pitch, but for me that's probably a 4. No, actually, I'd probably say like a 4 for the first half of the season, and maybe an 8 for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, a 6 overall. Yeah, because I think if you look at the second half of the season, we're going to end up basically 2 points a game, playing some good football, looking like a team, controlling games, looking organised, and I say I can't fault McKenna really for what he's done in the second half of the season. He just had too much to do in a strange season, and off the field, yeah, 9 out of 10. I'd say off the field. I think we've got nearly. There's obviously a couple of things you get wrong, like you do everything, but as long as you get 90% of your decisions right, and I think we're getting 90% of our decisions right, maybe more, then you're doing things well.
Be interesting to see what the season ticket uptake is, isn't it?
And if you look at off the field as well, if that includes the bringing in of McKenna and his staff, the recruitment staff, getting this whole, basically turning this into an actual size of our club like we should be, then yeah, I think 9 out of 10 for that.
Paul is blue, agrees, as you can see there. I've got a fun, it's not particularly fun, hypothetical question from Skip. Where do you think we'd be if Evans was still in charge and Paul Cook was too cash-strapped to do the demolition man thing?
Wow.
Charlie D's gone for 10th.
I don't think we'd be much worse off footballing wise, because
it would have been easier for Cook.
I think there's a floor for a club of our size, and I think we're quite close to that floor. But yeah, we might be slightly lower. We might be slightly higher, but I don't think I don't think it would be much different, because obviously we're not going to get relegated from this league, are we? When you look at how poor the teams at the bottom of the league are, we might be a bit lower. But I think Cook would have probably got it right if he didn't have the pressure of it all and was able just to get rid of the players that were out of contract and bring him in, and didn't go with his demolition man act, because he wouldn't have been able to, because he'd have had to have been reined in, because we couldn't afford to have done what he did if we didn't have the new owners. But I don't think we'd be much worse off, if any. Off the pitch, so I don't think I'd be giving us a 9 out of 10, though.
No,
Probably not.
Blimey.
Michael Warner, good morning all from Brisbane. Do you think any of our big players may go over the closed season? So the big players, Dave, we're talking about Walton, Edmondson, Wolfenden, Morsey. I mean, Selena isn't ours, is he?
You'd like to think no. I mean, it's an odd one, isn't it? I suppose if any one of those go, I thought I'd have said this 6 weeks ago, but perhaps could afford to let go, it'd probably be Edmondson, wouldn't it? Probably would be, seeing how well, we've still kept a nice, still kept mainly clean sheets. Okay, conceded Saturday and at Oxford as well, but Burgess has come into the side and done really well. So I'd say out of those players you mentioned there, probably for me, if there was going to be one,
if we're going back to a back four, Dave, Edmondson is a better bet there than Burgess, isn't he?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there again, yeah, probably. So
I just don't think that we're going to get the sort of money for Edmondson that would make it worthwhile. And not like I say, I wouldn't want to lose him, but I don't see that. We paid like 850,000 for him. I think he's the sort of player that if he plays well in the Championship would be worth a lot of money. I think he was probably one of the ones with the biggest resale value. I think the only two that probably you might get a big bid for and would be Luke Wolfenden or Wes Burns. I think they're the two that you might get a silly figure for, but I don't think you get it yet.
Do you think the player trading will start if and when we're back in the Championship, Joe?
Yeah, because I don't think there's a huge amount of value to sell from this league, unless you've got a striker who scored 30 goals in this league, and someone's like Ivan Toney did, didn't he? He scored a hell of a lot of goals in this league and got huge move to Brentford, but we haven't got that many players in that sort of the age which goes for big fees, sort of that 23, 22, 23, 24 range. We sort of cashed in on most of those last year, but I think Luke Wolfenden, if he'd have played like he had done all season, he's the sort of player that maybe a parachute club would take a chance on because of his age, because of his stature and his profile. But I think he's the only one really that would go, because I don't see anyone paying a lot of money for Wes Burns, enough money for us to sell for a 27-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, this is the next thing, isn't it? This is the next thing with the ownership. If someone does come in with a silly bid and it tests them, it'll be interesting to see what their reaction would be.
I've never had any fear in selling players, though, if that makes sense. I always just think, well, if you get a good offer in, sell them.
So you wouldn't want to sell a goalkeeper, mate?
No.
But not now we've finally got one.
But he was available. The goalie was available in January, wasn't he? Like, and we signed him in January.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And if, like, I know he's had a good second half of the season, but it's not like he's changed so much from January to now that he's turned. It's not like a striker who's barely scored and has put 15 goals together in 10 games. All of a sudden, he's got onto everyone's radar.
I think he looks a completely different goalkeeper now than before Christmas. Completely.
But it was the end of January though we signed him, wasn't it? Everyone knew about Christian Walton, didn't they? He's not someone that's.
He looks a better goalkeeper than Sanchez at the moment, the one who's in goal for Brighton in the Premier League.
Brighton, you're right. Yeah.
Paul is Blue says we'd have major trouble replacing Morsey if he was to go. You're not worried about Middlesbrough coming back in for him or anything like that?
How old's Morsey?
He's 30, 31, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't.
Good age.
I can't. Yeah, I can't see that. Just can't see it. Yeah, it would be a blow. I agree with that.
Howard DK says long-term Edmondson will be a success and it would be a mistake to let him go. He's a great character as well. And he is, isn't he? He seems like a good young leader in that dressing room. Would be a big shame. If we were to lose one of them for this, let's say for the same fee, out of Edmondson and Wolfenden, who would you sell, Dave? Putting you on the spot.
I mean, just putting heart into it. Probably Edmondson because Wolfenden, local lad, came through the academy, so I'd say Edmondson. Yeah.
And Joe, I guess you'd go for Edmondson as well, wouldn't you? You've been a big fan.
Yeah. No, I'd like to see his 100 games now. Ipswich boy. It's nice to see one of those playing. And I don't think I think Wolfie's been the best defender since McKenna's come in. I think he's been the best player in the team since McKenna's come in. And so
good, doesn't he?
And so it's not just the local thing. It's sort of his form since then. But like I say, I think his ceiling is very high. But I think George Edmondson's is as well.
Yeah, skip intro. I think the owners will take the view that once we're in the Championship, we potentially get 7 or 8 figure fees for our key players, and we'll see it as a longer game. But it's a weird one, isn't it? Because if we went up to the Championship, surely we wouldn't be selling our best players then, would we? Surely we'd sell our weaker players to League One clubs.
Well, ideally, you want to sell your best players when you're in the Championship to either other Championship like parachute teams or Premier teams because you can get the 8-figure fees, and then you've already got your replacement in your building, and you try and pick up cheaper players from League One. Like I say, I think you look at Bristol City for their trader model, and they've sold some big players for big fees.
I'm not sure whether this is pessimism or optimism. Nobody will attract big money. You're letting your heart rule your head with Wolfie.
Well, I don't think anyone will this summer, personally.
I agree.
But I think if anyone were to, it would be him, because somebody might just take a chance on him.
Yep.
David Bergen, because we keep talking about next season now, because this season's sort of petering out now, isn't it? How do you think we'll do next season if Wigan, Rotherham and Milton Keynes get promoted and Derby and Barnsley got relegated? I think we've spoken on the group chat. It's probably Sheffield Wednesday that we want out of the division, because we feel like Manning will probably leave Milton Keynes if they don't get promoted.
I wonder if Rotherham can go again as well, because obviously they've gone up, down, up, down, up, down sort of thing. And I wonder whether Paul Warne will want to give it, because he seems quite an emotional manager, doesn't he? He's always one that he sort of says how he doesn't want to do the job, and as soon as it's my time to go, I'll go. And I wonder if they didn't go up, whether he would just walk out and say, look, I've done as much as I can. It's too much.
He's probably eyeing up the Norwich job, isn't he? Down the line.
I mean, that would be wants it though. It's a strange one, isn't it? He seems to be a reluctant manager.
That'd be a real kick in the nads for them if they didn't go up. And they're not top anymore, are they? After last night,
no.
Yeah, I mean they could well. You lose that momentum this time of the season and miss out altogether after being top for seemingly all season, but
Well, they
certainly
looked
for
gone, didn't
bits
they?
before Christmas. Yeah,
And it's only MK's form was ridiculous, has sort of pulled them
just
back in.
mad. So I didn't see it. Parrott scored a decent goal last night. Apparently, I didn't see it.
Parrott scored a decent goal. Yeah, please like this video on YouTube, despite that terrible attempt at a joke. Is there any dead wood in the squad from Paul is Blue? We said loads of dead wood, didn't we?
I think Joe Pigott looks deadwood, really. I know that sounds harsh. He just looks terrible, doesn't he? He just doesn't look, and he doesn't look. And I think someone mentioned it before. I didn't catch the name about how McKenna wants fit, athletic, physical players.
Yeah,
and I don't think Joe Pigott fits that mould at all. He just doesn't have that pace or.
Kiel Antonsen.
And then,
Just
like I say,
hasn't happened, does it?
Kane Vincent Young is starting to look like that, isn't he? A bit
Yeah.
deadwood. I think. I don't know. There's a couple there. I think you could even maybe.
What did you think of it? What do you think of the lad up front for Cambridge, Joe? Saturday.
Good player. I liked him at their
Yeah.
place, but I don't think
Ironside.
he's. Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he'd been really good. I thought he really handled sort of two to three defenders well all game. Both times he played him. I don't think technically he'd be good enough for what we need and the style of football we're trying to play. I think you sort of see like the Jackson mould of sort of striker, isn't it?
I think A's gone in with Penny for Deadwood.
Oh, you sure that's not Player of the Year? Yeah. Yeah, I think you probably would add him to that. That was a. I mean, Thompson was struggling a bit Saturday, but that was a strange substitution Saturday, wasn't it? Really, I must admit he didn't really add much, did he? Well, once I think he got to the line and got the ball in, but yeah, that's one that hasn't really worked. And another one that he sort of started the season okay, scored at Cheltenham, didn't he? And looked sort of half decent, but again, a bit lightweight probably.
Next season will Hladky be our cup run goalkeeper?
I wonder whether he sort of pushes for a move and we just get a younger backup in there because he's probably he is an expensive. It costs 300,000. He's an expensive keeper to have as a backup, and if we could clear his wage off the wage bill and save a bit, I don't think we'd be adverse to it.
Hayes played in the 23s, didn't he, yesterday?
Yeah, he played yesterday in the 23s.
Yeah.
Mike Horner says I could see most of our strike force not being here next season. Maybe Jackson.
I think
Norwood's going, isn't he?
Norwood's going.
Yeah.
I don't really see that we're going to keep Bond. The fact he hasn't started the last two games after doing well at Oxford, I don't really see that we're going to keep him. So yeah, I think it's going to be Jackson. I think we're going to look for another couple of strikers in that mould, players that can just stretch defences.
Again, just go back 2 months. I mean, if you'd have think we've been having this conversation about Jackson now, are you mad? But just incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. And we've missed him. I honestly think we've missed him. We have missed him.
It came at a really bad time, that injury, didn't it?
Yeah, really, really is. And yeah, since he got MK away, wasn't he? He's just been been revelation until he got injured. Yeah, tough on him, really.
Right, just a few plugs now. So yeah, join us on Telegram. I'm not sure if you'll be able to read that, but all of the details are on our website, Blue Monday, and on the Twitter page. And Seven Rich will be back with the pre-match show ahead of the trip to Shrewsbury. Ben will host our post-match reaction video of one of Craig, Seb, or Rich, who are all going, I believe. I think there's 3 of them going. I'm sure they will book their tickets before the shock result against Cambridge. And Craig, Seb, and Rich will be on this week's flagship show because it's Masters Sunday, isn't it, Dave? So we're going to be busy.
Yeah, I'm not no time for football that day. No time at all.
Maybe Manchester City, Liverpool.
Oh,
just
that's a good point. Yeah. Get a decent appetizer.
And we have a general football and a general sport chat on our Telegram. So just to give our viewers that haven't joined us a little flavour, I'm going to go to you, Dave, for your picks for the Masters. There could be each way picks, and I'll go to you, Joe, for what's going to happen in the big game at the Etihad on Sunday.
Masters, I'm going for Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I've gone for Hovland as well.
Yeah,
maybe
Cantlay. What was my question?
Yours is Manchester City, Liverpool.
I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be a good game, though.
Yeah, I'd say a draw.
Sitting on the fence.
Called Villarreal 2-0 up against Bayern Munich.
It's all going on. Sindra, our strikers have not missed a lot of chances, so for me, that's not where the problem lies. And what about improving what we've got in-house? Look at Boda, Glimt. Joe will know.
Well, yeah, they've had an unbelievable record, haven't they, in sort of across Europe and in the Norwegian league. I think they've won the title by a ridiculous amount of points and just sold a couple of players and gone again. But I think there is a problem with the strikers here that we haven't got the right types of players. That while they may be not getting a huge amount of chances, we're just not. We want a striker who can drag defenders about and open up space. And I just don't see that Norwood's going to be able to do it. I don't see that Bond's going to be able to do it. I think Jackson's going to be able to do it, but you don't really want him leading your line. He's not going to be your main striker next season, is he? He might come in and have a few good games here and there, but ultimately, and with the way we recruited last summer, I've got no worries that we're not going to be going after this with mega ambition, getting someone that we'd sit here now and think, oh, there's no way Ipswich would be able to sign him. And I think we'll end up with someone like that. And looking forward to finding out who that person is.
Yeah, I think the feedback on Simpson wasn't too. I know it's only one game, but yesterday it wasn't too positive, really, was it? Overall, I don't think.
Yeah, Sindra said, speaking of the Simpson situation, if you put Bond, Piggott or Norwood in the under-23s, they'd score buckets of goals. Fans oversimplify everything. Simpson still has a lot to improve on. I think that's a fair comment.
He has a lot to improve on, but he's 20, isn't he? So
yeah,
he's gone away and played a lot of men's football and done well. And over the Bond has scored 1 goal in 22 games, is it now? Joe Piggott hasn't scored a single goal this season from open play. He got given the own goal at Burton, but that was an own goal. And he scored a penalty against AFC Wimbledon. He hasn't scored a goal in open play for us this season. And I'm not saying that Tyrese Simpson's going to come in and score 5 goals, but I'd rather see Simpson play than Joe Piggott at the moment because, like I say, at Oxford, you watched him, he was awful, and you keep giving him these chances because he's earning a lot of money. But if Simpson came in and put in 2 or 3 performances like Joe Piggott got in, the fans would be saying, oh, he's nowhere near ready, send him back, send him out on loan. There's no point in being here. But that's where we are with Piggott, really, at the moment.
Do you think we'll see any of them, Joe, before the end of the season? You know, the 3 they're talking about is obviously Baggett,
Humphreys,
Simpson, and or Humphreys. Do you think that, or anyone else likely? Do you think?
Maybe Chirera is sort of close by.
Yeah.
Possibly. I'd like to think so because like I say, the Sports Club Stats website is updated today, and when you look to see our finish of the season, if we win 4 games and lose 1, we've got a 1% chance of getting in the top 6. If we win 4 and draw 1, it's a 5% chance. And if we win all 5, it's a 32% chance. So you're looking at basically a 1 in 3 chance if we win all 5 of our games. So within sort of, well, like I say, this time next week, there may be 0 chance of that. And at that point, I'd like to see a couple of those players get a go at the expense of players who won't be here next year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But if the other teams keep winning, then go from there. But it's like I say, I think Humphreys is the closest, but Baggett's a hard one to drop in because are you just going to drop Burgess to give him a game? Probably not, are you?
I mean, it is. I mean, you say that is 8, isn't it? And I think I looked today. If Sunderland win their game in hand, is 9. They're in 6th place with 9. It'll be 9 points ahead. So
well, like I say, if you win all 5 games 7 times out of 10, you're still not going to make it. So we haven't won 3 games in a row.
When you put it like that.
Yeah, that's it.
While we're on negativity, Simon Thompson, Jackson, and incredible in the same sentence. Are you kidding me? Alan Brazil would do a better job still now. Dreadful player.
I think when I said, well, incredible, I think it was incredible. Not necessarily his performances, but incredible but my point was that we're speaking about him like we are now. That was the point I was making there. And look, in that role, I've got to say, in that role he was playing in those few games after the MK game. He did play well, and he did look a threat.
James Elmy, surely Simpson has more of the attributes that McKenna values than the other 3. Problem is though, he's got an agent.
Well, he's in a contract standoff, isn't he? At the end of the day, and
he ain't going to play.
Hopefully things are softening. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm sure that he's training regularly with the first team. It sounds like, and if that's the case, and McKenna's liking him, I'm sure something will come to it, and we'll go from there.
Darren Salter, considering what other strikers have scored this season, it makes our strikers look very average.
But you look at them on paper at the start of the season. Would you have swapped our strike force for anyone else? Norwood, Bonn, and Piggott. Would you have swapped that for anyone else's in the league?
No.
You wouldn't have swapped it for Cole Stockton and Alfie May, would you? But look at them now.
No.
Will Keane has got 20 goals.
It's a good point. Sindra, completely off topic, but do you have a Finnish team, Mikey? Yes, I do. FC Santa Claus are my team in Finland.
That would be my team as well, to be fair.
I now support VPS and Teti Yengi.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
that's a
saw that.
Yeah. More of our unwanted players going down the road to Colchester? ? Who's next?
Return for
down the
KBY.
A12.
Return for KBY.
Yeah, I reckon Miles Kenlock will stay down there because he's done well since he's been there. They've played well since he's been there, so I reckon he'll be staying there. But after that, I don't really see anyone else who would this year. Maybe some of the younger players, the sort of Tommy Hugheses and Bailey Clements, and maybe a couple of those, but I don't know for sure.
They just won 2 on the spin, haven't they, Joe? They're just about clawing their way to safe. Well, they're
they've won about sort of like 5 out of 8 or something like that. So they're well clear of relegation now. They're on a decent run.
Yeah. Sears has been a prolific season. He's got like 15 goals, hasn't he, or something ridiculous?
12,
He's a goal.
12, goal machine. Goal machine.
All that talk about he's going to be brilliant in League One. We all meant League Two, didn't we?
Yeah, that's what we meant.
Paul Isbury says, my only worry is that we have to play the best football in the division to score 1 goal. If we could win ugly occasionally, we'd be the real deal.
The goals
are going to come, aren't they? You've got to think some of those ugly goals are going to come, aren't they? Because nearly all our goals look like they're straight from the training ground, don't they? And at some point, you're going to start getting
from corners.
Surely at some point,
Because
I mean, even some of the corners on Saturday were okay corners. Just Cambridge defended them really, really well. Unfortunately, just did. So yeah, you're gonna hope that certainly from set plays before, and they're not necessarily ugly goals, but that simply has to improve, doesn't it?
Mm.
Hey, our delivery into the box isn't good enough, but strikers have the ability to be in the wrong place at the right time. That's a fair observation, isn't it? That's just the way things are going at the moment, isn't it?
But that was something we noticed on the pod, and we mentioned the other day, that there was a couple of times where Thompson got down the left, and he pulls the ball back, and 3 players have all gone to the near post, and it makes the ball look bad, but ultimately it's a lack of communication amongst the front players of who's going where and sort of giving him actual options, because he's only putting the balls into decent areas. That's what a cross is normally. You're not passing it in, are you?
Here's one to ponder. Darren Salter, considering we're called Checkbook FC and probably finishing 9th, people just assume we're going to win the league easy next season. What do you think? There is always something, isn't there? And I know that we've been excellent under McKenna, and a lot of our signings have really started to find their feet, and we are improving. But let's rewind. A year ago, we were saying, well, we're going to bring in all of these players. We've got an excellent manager now. We've got good owners. Next season's going to be the year. There always seems to be something, isn't there, that means that we can't achieve what we set out for.
Yeah, no one's got a divine right either, have they? It's still going to be a strong division next year, and whoever goes up, and we've seen teams that are likely to come down. It's just consistency, isn't it? For God's sake, it's just right. You said yourself, we haven't won 3 games on the trot, 3 league games on the trot all season. It's just finding that levels of consistency, for goodness sake, to get out of this league more than anything. I mean, look, until recently, look at the results. Rotherham were grounding out. It was just amazing, And now MK, the run they're on, we just don't seem to be able to.
Well, we have started doing that now. I think.
That
we have done since McKenna's come in, haven't we? We just haven't scored enough goals, but we haven't lost many games.
Yeah.
Do you think we were 11 unbeaten in going into Saturday's game?
A lot of draws there, though, weren't there? A lot of draws, and
I think
there's only Oxford though that we didn't see out. The others we'd sort of come from behind, weren't they?
I think we're there or thereabouts going into next season. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk to promotion and a procession, because there's going to be 7-8 teams that get 79, 80 points plus this year. Well, only 3 of them can go up. You're going to have Peterborough come down, who are always going to be a good side at this level. You're going to have Barnsley come down, who have been a good side. They've just had a bad year. They were in the Championship playoffs last year, and they've got their sort of like decent recruitment and bringing players in that way. So there's going to be 10 good teams in this league this year, probably 12 crap ones and 10 good ones, and a couple that could go either way. And we just got to hope we're on the right side of it. And it's like I say, it's going to be a grind. We're going to have some good runs of forms and go from there. But I just don't I just don't have any doubt we're going to be there or thereabouts. If that makes sense. I'm not, and that's for automatic promotion, because I just think under McKenna we're too good a team. We're too controlled. We control games too well to lose too many.
Shall I remind you of that 12 months hence when we're
Yeah.
ninth?
Yeah, we won't be ninth, I don't think, but we might not win enough games, and we might drop down a little bit, and we might not make it. But if you think I know Saturday was very disappointing, but the 10 games previous to that, we've been the best side in each game. We might not have got what we deserved, and I think A has just made a point. How often do we get points we don't deserve? And I don't think we do. I think we don't get as many points as we deserve at the moment. And I say, when you go for a run of form like we've been on, where you're the best team 10 games in a row, you are a good team now. We haven't had that for a long time at Ipswich Town. So, like I say, I'm confident that we're going to be there or thereabouts. But
so we need
promotion is never
ever
going to be easy.
We need to fuse McCarthy ball with MC McKenna shit, Dave.
Absolutely what we need to do. That would be a hell of a combination, wouldn't it?
Kiel says, stop the rotations, play the best team. We're not Liverpool. Michael Warner says
I think I think we all agree he got it. If everyone was fit Saturday, I think he got it slightly wrong Saturday. I think that's been done enough, hasn't it, Matt?
Michael Warner, we need to shoot more from distance. Most goalkeepers don't hold the ball, so there's always a chance of the loose ball in the 6-yard box. So because of those offensive patterns of play, Joe, where we like to get to the byline and cut the ball back, do you think that maybe we've been instructed not to shoot from distance?
Yeah, possibly, but I do think, especially someone like Bersan Salina, who we know he's got a cracking shot on him, he does just need to shoot more.
Agreed,
yeah,
Dave. I'm sure you're in agreement there.
Around the edge of the box,
that's frustrating.
Not 30 yards, but around the edge of the box when his body's in the way.
I mean, he's so good. He frustrates me in certain games where you think, oh, yeah, really unloaded. We know what he can do. We've seen it 3 or 4 seasons ago. Some of the goals he scored, incredible long-range goals. And I think I can remember one this season. I think at Wickham, where the goalkeeper, great strike, the goalkeeper sort of palms it in, doesn't he? But yeah, we just haven't really seen that from him. Wolsey had a good shot second half Saturday. Really good effort, didn't he? That was outside the box. But you're right, we just don't really see enough of that.
Our viewers have come up with one example of a game where we didn't deserve the points under McKenna. Gillingham, HGH and James Elmy as well. Good spot. But yeah, like he says there, apart from that, we deserved what we earned.
Is that the one where oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember.
And we've deserved what we earned against all different types of teams as well. Because people are like, oh, well, we didn't do well against Gillingham, but we did didn't do well against Cambridge. Can we beat teams who sit back? It's like, well, we came from behind to beat Accrington, who were just like that, and against Morecambe and Cheltenham. I know we didn't win those games, but we absolutely battered them, and it was just we should have won those games. And sometimes you just don't get the luck. But I say I've got no. You can tell we're a decent side now, don't you? And I haven't thought that for a long time. We've had the odd up and down, but here we're at a consistently high level, aren't we?
So what else we don't do? We don't win any penalties, do we? We don't hardly ever win a penalty.
Well, we haven't had one. We had one at Gillingham, didn't we? One at Wimbledon against Wimbledon.
One at Fraser missed at Burton.
And especially now, considering under McKenna, we have so many of these
around the box,
entries into the box and things like that, and
bizarre.
Yeah.
Conspiracy, I reckon.
Yeah. I reckon it's exactly what it is, Joe.
It's conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy theory.
Right. So I'm going to ask you to for what you'd like to see at the Shrewsbury game on Saturday, and don't just say I'd like to see us get 3 points. And I'm going to ask the viewers if you can just chuck in your player of the season so far, your votes for that, and I'll show up as many as we can before we go. So yeah, Shrewsbury, you go first, Dave. What would you most like to see?
I mean, I think think about. I'd like to see perhaps a similar team and a similar performance as against Plymouth the week before last, because I thought I think we all said that under McKenna probably been our best performance over 90 minutes. I mean, that was a 1-0 win. We absolutely played them off the park, and I think it had a shot on target, for goodness sake. And they were on the back of a 6-game winning run. So yeah, something a performance resembling something like that, I think. And whatever result you'd be happy with that, I think. And a similar team, I would say also.
I'd like to see a couple of. I'd like to see a couple of goals, maybe a set piece goal and a set piece goal and a scrappy goal and a 2-0 win would suit me. And I know it sounds like I'm asking for a lot there because just a 2-0 win would be nice, and I don't really care how we get it, but it would be nice to just to score a couple of goals, maybe a striker score a goal for once rather than relying on everyone around him.
Absolutely right. So these player of the season votes: Wes Burns, Walton. Morsley or Walton from Michael Warner. He's also gone for a 2-0 win on Saturday. Charlie D's gone for Donacien. HCH, Burns. Elmy, I'm guessing that's who he wants to see up front rather than. He's gone for Burns. A's also gone for Burns. Morsley cost us big time with a 4-game ban.
Yeah, good point.
With 7 games he's been suspended for this year. I know one was at Middlesbrough, but it's still 7 games he's missed because of suspension.
Yeah,
it looks like it's going to be Burns, isn't it?
David
Bergen goes 4-0 on Saturday.
Looks like poor old Jano is going to pick up that Clubman of the Year award. The dreaded.
If who gets a Players Player of the Year award? That's always an important one to win.
Yeah, that's decent. Yeah.
Club Man of the Year, lovely stuff. Did you ever win that table?
Man of the Year.
Religiously swept the dressing room up after every single game, never won it once.
You were goal of the season, though, weren't you, Dave?
I want to go a couple of those, couple of players on Sundays, I think. Yeah. Never think one player of the year on a Saturday, but on a Sunday I did. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Thanks everyone for all these questions and for helping us along. It's been a really enjoyable debate. Thanks, Dave and Joe, as ever. Any final words from the two of you before we go?
Come on, Victor. Come on, Victor.
Come on, Victor. Lovely stuff.
In the hole.